So I was saying, the next speaker is Merja Särkioja from Finland. Dr. Särkioja is a senior science advisor at the Academy of Finland, and she is currently the head of the Secretariat for Finland's Research Infrastructure Committee. Merja really has ample experience in European research infrastructures and is Finland's expert member of ESFRI, which is the European Strategy Forum on Research Infrastructure. She's also delegate in the ERIC Committee and the Research Infrastructure Committee of the European Commission. So we're very happy to have her on board and to hear about the importance of national and ESFRI roadmaps in building research infrastructures in Europe.
Thank you, Federica. Just to check whether you can hear me and see my slide.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Yes. So thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. My topics today, like Federica already introduced, is the importance of national and ESFRI roadmaps to build research infrastructures in Europe. So let's start with the definitions first. So basically, ESFRI, the sort of a ESFRI roadmap is a sort of a document that identifies vital new European RIs for the next 10 to 20 years. And as we all know, the objective of ESFRI is to develop the next generation pan-European research infrastructures. Well, Finland's definition for roadmap is along the same lines. So basically what we mean by roadmap is that it is a list of key research infrastructures in Finland, which are either under development or will be newly required over the next 10 to 15 years. And the plan also concerns a major upgrade of existing research infrastructures. So in summary, as we all know that the research infrastructures come in very many shapes and sizes, they are basically all different. And sometimes the big picture, it's somehow, it's a bit quite messy, or it's not looking too clear. So therefore, I think that we do have those roadmaps to clear up the picture a bit. So if we look the history of ESFRI and Finland's roadmap, so the ESFRI roadmapping started 2006, and since then there have been actually 5 roadmaps accomplished, and this year's roadmap is along the way. It will be published at some point in the autumn, I guess. And in Finland, we started the road mapping exercises 2009, and since then we've done like 4 roadmaps by now. And I have to say that aligning actual road mapping exercises like with ESFRI, like back to back, it is quite impossible in terms of timing, since the countries many have their own timetables and proceedings and the decision-making process, etc. So it's quite difficult to really align these issues. But this being said, developing a European or any other sort of country's research infrastructure landscape, it is a really a cooperating effort. And cooperation can be done in different ways. Like in ESFRI's case, the ESFRI produces, in addition to roadmaps and landscape analysis, several reports, such as these 3 that I have listed here, but there are many more. So these results from these reports and recommendations that they give, at least in Finland, we've been taking those into account when developing national actions. So that's one way to align the policies and ways to go forward. So basically now a few words about our national roadmaps and why do we have roadmaps in Finland. So basically we have quite strong strategic framework behind the roadmaps. So we have according to the national roadmap for RDI research, and so it says that the networks must be grouped into a larger competence centers and ecosystems. And this sort of a roadmap covers all the RDI actions in Finland. So one of the aims of our Finnish Research Infrastructure Committee, who is the decision-making body here, is to advance a sufficiently strong long-term basis of development and provision of high-quality research infrastructure services. And one way to do that is to have these roadmaps. So we have to have a long-term plan and funding for the acquisition, establishment, or upgrading of nationally significant research infrastructures. So our actions and roadmaps are really based on this strategic development. Now we are having this 10-year strategy for national research infrastructures published in 2020, and it's until 2030, the strategy. And the strategy itself outlines 3 main objectives and 6 development areas in the strategic development of research infrastructures. Those 3 objectives are to promote the quality, renewal, and competitiveness of research, strengthening the broad-based impact of research environments, and as third, increasing national and international cooperation. And this strategy basically sets the overall targets for development of national research infrastructure landscape in order to support high quality research and its impact. So basically the roadmap is developed on the basis of the strategy. And the roadmap itself, in Finland, the newest roadmap actual report will be published later this year as well. So it will include the list of selected roadmap infrastructures. There are 29 of them. It will include the landscape analysis of Finland, national and from national and international perspective, including, for instance, interconnectedness of research organizations and breadth of user base of those infrastructures where we are involved. And also it will cover the Finnish partnerships in ESFRI projects. How the roadmaps and actual funding, as I come from the national funder, how they link together. So basically, the roadmap, being in the roadmap, it doesn't guarantee for funding. It needs to be applied, but most of the funding that we give to research infrastructures will be allocated to the RIs included to the roadmap, and our committee will also fund other infrastructures outside the roadmap as well, based on the competition. So basically, we have a selection criteria that we use when we are selecting infrastructures to the roadmap. There are first of all, we always use international peer review process. So there are applications and evaluation done, and then we also, since this is a really cooperating effort, because we want to create a sort of a long-term funding base to the infrastructures, so we kind of demand the host organizations, that means universities and research institutes and like hospitals, etc., like research organizations, to prioritize and commit also financially to those research infrastructures. We ask also views of the academic research councils, because we want to support that kind of a research infrastructures that support the highest quality research. So there needs to be sort of audience and user base to those, and researchers need for that kind of a facilities. And of course, we look at the Finnish landscape and the situation, how it looks, and then we also look the strength of funding base of RIs that I already mentioned. And these development areas stated in the strategy, they are our evaluation criteria. So we look at the national and international relevance, wise and versatile impact, ownership, funding, know-how, digital platforms and data, and risk management when evaluating those infrastructure structures. And to finalize with a few slides, this is how our roadmaps and funding routes are supposed to rotate in the next 10 years. So we are now having this 21 to 24 roadmap. It will have 2 funding rounds. And the next roadmap will be 2025 to 2028, and it will also have a couple of funding rounds back to the roadmap period. And here just to show you the research infrastructures that are selected to the current roadmap. There are 29 of them, and actually 10 of these infrastructures are so-called ESFRI based infrastructures. So we cover all the sort of scientific fields in our operations here. And here we have the memberships, where Finland is a state member of these international infrastructures. We also are hosting 2 of these ERIC infrastructures, Eurobioimaging. That is not probably the reason why I'm here talking to you now. And then we have the ICOS ERIC that is from the environmental side. And all these infrastructures where we are a member comes from the ESFRI process. So I thank you now for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to help at here, or you can send us an email as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Merja. Very, very interesting and well-structured insight on how road mapping works in Finland and in Europe, and how it helps us. And yes, indeed, thanks for hosting the seat of Eurobioimaging, Eric. I think it's now the time for me to pass the word. So there is a question from Vladimir, actually. I might not see all the raised hands. I apologize for that. I see one raised hand from Vladimir again, and then I will pass the word to Chris for the roundtable discussion.
Thank you, Federica. Thank you, Merja, for a great presentation. I'll keep it short. One thing that struck me from the roadmap overview that you provided is how it's immediately taken into consideration. All the decisions of road mapping are taken into consideration in the national strategy, and then you decide on investing. It looks like you have a very well established connection with the government. And I'm wondering, how did Finland come to that point where science became a priority item, where road mapping is immediately transformed into funding? What do you think can be done, or what's experience, or what's the lesson that other regions can take from it in order to establish the same kind of relationship with the government, where it will immediately go into like budgeting and funding and something like that?
Okay, thank you for the good question. That is not that easy to answer. So, I mean, to start with, Finland is a very small country, and research and so we have a bit more than 500 people. We pretty much know everybody. So that is one reason to be able to do this. And of course, another maybe more important reason is that in sort of high quality research and education is highly valued in Finland. But it's not easy, and we are not there yet. I mean, like I've been doing this job with research infrastructures almost 10 years, and it's been you need to just keep up and keep visible and try to contact people and be everywhere and tell the story and try to convince everybody that these issues are important and needed, etc. But I mean, I guess the Finland's asset is the kind of the size of the country and the people, and then it's the fact that we know everybody. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Merja.
I think over to Chris.